It's October. Time for candy corn, caramel apples, and all things pumpkin. And of course, Halloween. Join me for a special trick or treat. Halloween is a seasonal celebration marking the end of summer and harvest and the beginning of winter, when the boundary between the living and the dead was blurred. Pumpkins are carved to scare away wandering spirits and protect the household. In autumn, the days are getting shorter, and the deep freeze of winter is just around the corner. It is a time when the veil between the living and the dead is said to be the thinnest. Portals could open and wandering spirits could be seen. America inherited this tradition from European immigrants and the legend of Stingy Jack, an old Irish and Scottish folktale of a man who made a deal with the devil. After his death, he was doomed to wander the earth with only a burning ember inside of a carved-out turnip. This wandering spirit became known as Jack of the Lantern, and turnips and potatoes were carved and placed in windows to scare away Stingy Jack or other malevolent spirits on this night. America changed the tradition of carving turnips to the larger and brighter American pumpkin, so abundant at harvest time, creating our unique version of Jack of the Lantern. One ancient tradition thought to influence this holiday was the Roman Day of the Dead, the festival of Lemuria in mid-May. Romans sought protection from dead spirits that haunt the living through such rituals as placing cakes upon graves to appease lost souls. It was common for many cultures to set aside a day or so each year to honor their dead. The Catholic Church, in an effort to Christianize existing pagan practices, introduced May 13th as All Saints' Day, or All Hallows' Day, also known as Hallowmas, to honor Christian saints and the faithfully departed, which overlapped this existing Roman tradition. Later, Pope Gregory III changed All Saints' Day to November 1st. This date coincided with Samhain, the ancient Celtic harvest festival, eventually replacing it. In the British Isles, Samhain was a time that the spirits could walk among the living. Winter brought darkness and often death, so as part of the harvest celebration, plentiful food and drink were left out to placate wandering spirits. The Samhain celebration used bonfires, costumes, and rituals that were performed to ward off evil spirits and protect the village from the encroaching time of darkness and cold. The ancient Celts divided the year into a light half and a dark half, and Samhain was the beginning of the dark half that marked the more dangerous time of year. The Celts would light bonfires to honor the loss of light, and these fires attracted insects that then attracted bats. So bats became part of the seasonal celebration. Bats come out at dusk when other predators also roam freely, and people were more vulnerable to attack. This was the time before electricity. Sacrifices of crops or animals were made as an offering to the spirits for protection. Samhain merged with the ghostly storytelling at harvest time and mixed with the haunting shadows that danced around a bright bonfire. Christianity sought to eliminate the animal sacrifices involved in these rituals and transform the holiday to one of prayer. The evening before November 1st, All Hallows' Eve, was October 31st, and the name was eventually shortened to Halloween. In medieval England, a Christian tradition emerged called souling. It was a night when poor children and beggars would go door to door, offering prayers for the recently deceased in exchange for soul cakes or small gifts. The children often carried inexpensive turnip lanterns on their trips to light their way. The small spiced cakes offered was a way of giving charity and hope to help the souls of deceased loved ones stuck in purgatory, a realm between heaven and earth. Another tradition emerged alongside souling called Guising, where adults or children dressed up in crude costumes and masks and roamed the streets as saints, angels, or demons to visit homes singing songs or telling jokes in exchange for food, ale, or coins. This tradition included banshees, ghosts, and wolves that might prowl the streets as well. Witches were also feared, and their everyday tools such as brooms or cauldrons were often seen, as well as an occasional black cat. Costumes would provide anonymity, and masks became more popular as rowdier participants demanded more food or drink. Generous households would be protected, while others would receive the tricks of mischievous misfortune. America played a significant role in transforming Halloween into a more festive and light-hearted tradition it is today. Halloween became less focused on the dead and more on the living, and fear was replaced with a more playful spirit. In early America, European traditions were held back by the New England Puritans, although segments of it began to creep into the harvest-related events in the early 1800s. Many immigrants brought in the more boisterous prank playing and games. New spooky stories emerged, such as The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving, or The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. And after the Civil War, there was so much death that ghost stories about people coming home became very popular, and boogeymen were seen as hiding on nearly every gatepost. In the late 1800s, Halloween was evolving into community gatherings and fun instead of a fear of ghosts and lost souls or troublesome pranks. It was a night of mischief that gave the average person a release from their anxieties. At the turn of the 20th century, artists began using black and orange as the preferred colors for this holiday, and they brought in all things scary, including skeletons and spider webs. The ghostly sheets used for costumes were derived from the shrouds used for burial, and witches that had been previously seen as ugly became softer and even attractive and a little naughty. Halloween in the early 20th century, especially around the time of the Great Depression, made a turn and started to get out of hand and more violent. Due to increased social and economic tensions, malicious mischief was becoming destructive, and the tricks often escalated into vandalism or property damage. Schools and civic authorities wanted to tame the holiday for everyone's benefit and change something destructive into something positive. Thus was born the term trick-or-treat, and official trick-or-treating is less than 100 years old and gave youngsters a structured way to roam the streets at night looking for candy treats instead of trouble. Cities invented other activities to boost participation, such as costume parades and pumpkin carving contests. Costumes were commercialized, and the avalanche of new packaged candies began. Haunted houses and carnivals became popular, and homeowners joined the celebration and participated, giving treats in order to stay safe from rowdy tricksters. Households could buy peace and protection for a handful of candy, so a new ritual was born. Chocolate, jellies, or bubblegum was a small price to pay to keep the goblins at bay. Halloween was becoming a pop culture tradition, and people loved to be scared, to dress up, decorate their homes, and have parties. October 31st was shedding its skin as a night of unrestrained mischief to a night of organized festivity and fun for the family, and receiving something sweet in return for dressing up. Today, Halloween is a billion-dollar industry. The phrase trick-or-treat became widespread in the 1950s, and costumes became readily available in local stores, and Hollywood Halloween films followed a little time later and were good for a scare. Halloween reminds us of our mortality and helps us to be grateful for the good things in our life. We appreciate our blessings more when we can contrast them with the darker elements in life. Halloween is also about getting outside your own skin and confronting your fears, whatever they may be, and investigating your shadow side. It is one night of the year to turn your world on its head and become something you are not normally. Halloween is a recognition of the shifting of our seasons and a reminder of our mortality, death, our fears in departed earthbound souls hungry for prayers. So do not fear the darkness. Be the light that others follow through it. So a happy Halloween, everyone, and shine your light this Halloween night.